All right, it's time for our Ultimate Insider, brought to you by FFB Bank. We're joined by Fresno State Insider Jackson Moore of Barkboard.com. Jackson, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, Jeff Tedford, going into the Ring of Honor. No-brainer?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what he did, you just think about the Mountain West Championships first, but then you really dive back in and think about what this program looked like in 2016 and what it looked like in 2017 after he fixed it, basically, and how different things could have looked if anyone else was the head coach there. So, I mean, two different impressive head coaching stints and his quarterbacking play. I mean, he set records at the time. A lot of them have been broken since then, but it was still a big time. I mean, his senior season was huge, only one loss. So, I mean, that was player, coach. He's up there with Hill and Sweeney. It's an awesome trio.
Jackson, the bye week has come to a close. We'll hear from head coach Matt Entz tomorrow morning at his weekly press conference. Bulldogs 4-1 so far. How do you assess how they've been so far this season?
Yeah, it felt like a bit of a roller coaster the first few games, and now once you've built 4 wins in a row, it feels like there's a lot of confidence behind this team that they've done it a little bit more consistently now. That the close wins, they were. You win one close game, you're not sure if it was a fluke, but you get 2 of them, and now it feels like a trend. It feels like this team's got that grittiness to win games at the end, and it feels like they got a couple favorable games coming up and coming off one bye with another one after. So, I mean, it feels like they're in really prime position right now.
Yeah, looking at the conference as a whole, I took a look at the odds today, and Boise State, at least according to DraftKings, still a prohibitive favorite, like a minus 140 favorite, I believe, to win the conference. Then you got UNLV there as well at about 5-1. Fresno State at 8-1. They're now the third choice. What do you think? Too high or too low for the Bulldogs?
I think that's pretty fair. I mean, UNLV is 4-0, but it hasn't been an impressive run for the Rebels the way that they've gotten there. I think Boise State, as bad as they looked the first game, I still think they're a really good team. You're looking at some teams like Utah State who have played some big programs, and they've got a big win against Air Force already. There's more teams you could see the Bulldogs potentially get tripped up by, but I think as far as resumes go, I mean, they're right up there as a contender. And the math changes a little bit when Fresno State doesn't have to play UNLV. So it'll be interesting to see tiebreaker scenarios and everything else that might come and play at the end.
Of course, the Dogs playing that other team from the state of Nevada on Saturday. The Nevada Wolfpack coming in at 1-3. Coming off a tough season a year ago. Anything to be concerned about here for Matt Entz and company, or should this be a game that the Dogs, in your opinion, win pretty easily? It
should be. They're favored by 2 touchdowns. That seems pretty fair. They still have to play a pretty solid game to clear that benchmark. But I remember very vividly being in Reno last year, and that game was about as gritty of a win for last year's team as this team just had in Hawaii. So there's bound to be some carryover, but I think being at home, the improvements Fresno State's made, the improvements that Nevada doesn't appear to have made, should give the Bulldogs plenty of leeway to get out with a win, even if they give their B or C game in this one.
Jackson, former Fresno State head coach Kalen DeBoer now at Alabama. A big win for the Crimson Tide yesterday on the road in Athens over number 5 Georgia. What do you make of his success since leaving Fresno State?
It's wild how quickly it's gone from Fresno State to Washington to Alabama. I mean, just what he did at Washington was incredible in such a short span to get to the national championship game. And now at Alabama, I think the Alabama situation he got into was a tough one following Nick Saban. And I think the power structure of college football has made it to where instead of those 2 or 3 teams being excellent at the top, it feels like the top 15 or so. So they're bound to not win as consistently, I think, as with Nick Saban did. But I think beating Georgia is going to cause quell some concerns that maybe people had in Tuscaloosa, at least.
Basketball season will be here soon enough. Shifting gears to that, we're going to hear from Vance Wahlberg in a little bit later in the show. What are you most looking forward to about Fresno State basketball this season?
I'm looking forward to just a fresh start. Last season it was tough all the way around, but at the end of the year, with as thin as the roster got, I mean, only like 6 players at times playing in games, it was hard to imagine going through that. So to have a fully healthy team, 15 players, a new group that's got some hope to it, to be a different squad. And the non-conference schedule. They're going to be at home a lot in November against a lot of teams that they should be favored against. So a chance to kind of get off to a different start this year.
We heard from Wahlberg this week, as Ange mentioned. We'll hear from him later in the show. He was brutally honest in talking to the media about the state of college athletics, NIL, transfer portal, all that stuff. What was the most surprising thing you heard from Coach Wahlberg?
Yeah, I mean, he has been very honest about it, and he's going through it, and it gives perspective into some of the issues that the program is having. I don't know if everyone realizes the challenges that they're facing, but I mean, probably just the dollar figures of the players that they had last year that they're getting, I mean, like 10 times the amount they made at their new school this year compared to Fresno State. So it shows how much things are changing. And I mean, probably the part maybe I didn't hear quoted as much was just, even if those players are worth that much, they might have different needs, different players that they find that they might feel are better on this year's roster than they had last year. So excited to see how this group gels together, and excited to see how the international flavor of this team also comes together.
Again, much more on what Coach Wahlberg had to say in our one-on-one interview with Ange coming up a little later in the show. That's Jackson Moore of Barkboard.com. Thanks a bunch, Jackson.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.